Hello, friends, and welcome to another live edition of Syracuse Sports. As Syracuse football training camp presses on, it's about halfway home. We're 19 days away from kickoff between Syracuse and Tennessee to start the season in Atlanta on August 30th. The ice cream truck was back at practice day. Actually, not the ice cream truck. This was like the, what was that, Javon? Like shaved ice? Right, kind of like slushies,
Yeah.
or what we have working there?
Yeah, there was a
Make your own
Kona.
slushy.
There was a Kona ice truck. They had one at my brother's wedding last year. So yeah, you can either you can have them. Just go ahead and make it your standard. What do you guys call it up here? Because we call it a snowball back home.
Ices, slushies, yeah, that kind of thing.
Snowball, shaved ice. In Philly, they call it
Italian
water
ice, some people
whatever
call it.
you
Yes.
want to. Italian ice.
Water
whatever you
ice,
wanna
I've
call
heard
it.
that.
Yeah, you didn't have them make just one of those standard flavors for you. Or what you can do is say, hey, just give me a cup of ice, and you can go off to the side, and you can put all the flavors you want. Just like when you go to 7-Eleven and you mix all your slushy flavors up, you can do that at the Kona ice truck. It's a beautiful thing.
Some added relief for the Oranges. It was a 92-degree day when they hit the field this afternoon, one of the hottest days at camp. And we got a lot to get into. Fran Brown discussed the quarterback situation. You're going to hear from the head coach on that here shortly, and Javon and I will discuss the other big competition at camp that I don't think we got some encouraging news on today, Javon, but they're free to prove me wrong on that. Special teams takes focus there. We'll play a clip from Ricky Brumfield, the new special teams coordinator, who's got a lot on his plate in this training camp and in the offseason, trying to clean up what was a big mess for Syracuse football, even in a 10-3 season a year ago. We've got some thoughts on the defense. We've got some great questions from our Syracuse Sports Insiders. To be a Syracuse Sports Insider, it's there on your screen. All you got to do is sign up at joinsubtext.com/Syracuse Sports. Take you just a couple minutes to sign up. You can try it free for 2 weeks, just $3.99 a month after that. And being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you exclusive voice on this podcast. It gives you the first reports and videos off the practice field. When we leave practice, our insiders get all the updates first. Your opportunity to text me your questions, comments, thoughts, opinions, and things you want us to ask Syracuse coaches. It gives you direct text message access to me anytime. We'd love for you to join our growing community of some of the more passionate Syracuse sports fans out there today by becoming a Syracuse Sports Insider, and we will answer your questions coming up. But Javon, let us not waste the people's time. They've come here for quarterback talk, and we have the head coach on the latest from what he saw between Steve Angeli and Ricky Collins Jr. There was a scrimmage on Saturday. Let us listen into a couple of things that the head coach had to say, not only about that, but about his quarterback competition. Here is the head coach.
I thought they did good. We pushing. I thought they were doing a good job. Just hoping Rickie takes another huge step this week. So that'll mean a lot to us. Pushing for that. And Steve's done a great job also. So hoping that Steve takes another huge step this week. I was impressed with Luke and Rich. You know, they also did a good job in their playing. I thought Jakari ran the ball well. Rich and Luke stood out when it came to the second group of guys doing that. And the other two, I just pray that they hope to take another big step this week. You know, it'll be big for our program if they do that.
So Fran has said, Jeff Nixon has said, we'll hear what Nunzio Campanelli says on Tuesday when we talk to him, Javon. They want to see two scrimmages before they make the call on this. The depth chart, you're writing about this. We'll read it on Tuesday on syracuse.com or the next couple of days. They want to see two scrimmages. So no surprises, no curveballs. Fran Brown came out today, did not name his starter, still has more to see. And he wants to see a big step. Now, as we micro-analyze these things, Javon, any significance that he mentioned Rickie first, and I think a little more affirmatively, or was he just going in his standard 1-1A order, if you will? I don't know. I thought there was a little more oomph in that Rickie comment than the Steve comment, or maybe I'm just overthinking it.
So if I'm Ricky Collins or someone in his camp where I'm a fan rooting for Ricky Collins to get the starting job, I'm buying into that. I would tell myself, hey, like if I'm Ricky, I'm like, hey, Fran said my name first.
That's right.
When he said Steve, it sounded like he said it just so he could make sure Steve's name was said. That's what I'd be telling myself. You know, we've all got a little bit of I don't know if delusion is the word, here, but we've all got a little bit of the
bias,
region in
yeah.
us, you know. So
Yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
like that'd be what I'm telling myself if I'm Ricky Collins or a fan of Ricky Collins. I'm not going to read too much into it because Fran's not going to call my phone saying I'm spinning his words. But if I were Ricky, that's the way I take it. I tell you that much.
Well, I have a little theory on this.
Just for a little confidence boost, you know?
Yeah. I have a little theory on this I'm going to share, which might have Fran call my phone, and he's welcome to call anytime. But a couple more from the head coach on the quarterback situation.
I'm not really trying to compare them to Kyle. I'm trying to compare them to them being able to run the offense the best that they can run the offense, to do what fits them, right? So I think they're doing a good job. I think that Coach Nixon and Coach Nuns and the rest of the offensive staff, they do a good job of putting things together. And we got a lot of pieces around to complement and to like compensate the areas that they may not be as good at. You know, so they're doing well though. I'm excited for where they are. I'm excited for that growth. It's Steve's first time going through the offense. It's Ricky's maybe fifth, sixth, something like that. So I'm excited where both of those guys are.
And one more from the head coach on his quarterbacks.
Just a mixture of all. Yeah, I would say a mixture of everything. That's important. It's always about the leadership first because you're the quarterback, and you want to make sure that everyone's following you. But then, of course, playbook, you want to keep learning it and know it, and you want to already know when a coach may have sent a call in and he send it in backwards, right? But then, that's not right. Hey, he's called this. I know what he means, right? Being able to do that, so we got to get to that point for him to be there.
Can I share my theory with you?
Talk to me.
Okay. 2 disclaimers. 1, I have no inside information on this. Just running opinion from Uncle Brent. 2, unequivocally, Fran Brown is going to do what is best for this football team. He is not going to show any bias. He is going to do what is best for this football team. I believe that. I do. But if I got Fran alone on a mountaintop right now, Javon, I think he wants Rickie to win the job. I think he's challenging Rickie to win the job. I think Rickie was his guy that he brought in after Kyle McCord. Rickie was clearly the best quarterback in spring ball to the point that he was quickly named the starting quarterback, right? End of camp, suffers that injury. Needed a little more competition in the room, knowing that Michael Johnson Jr. was going into the portal, and a lot of great college football programs have 2 or 3 good quarterbacks in the room. You could see why they would bring in Steve Angeli with his connections to Campanelli. Fran said it himself. He watched him play in the against Penn State, wanted him on his team, right? Because he knows competition has to be everywhere on this roster. If Steve Angeli is the best quarterback for Syracuse football, then he's going to start against Tennessee. But there's just something I'm picking up from Fran, and I could be dead wrong on this, but I almost get the sense he wants Rickie to win the job, but he's not going to just give him the job because he wants him to win it. He's almost challenging him to reassert what his opinion was when he went and got him out of the portal and named him the starter in spring. Am I crazy to think that, or what are you picking up on that?
If I were you, well, if I were making that point, here's what I would add to it.
Okay.
Knowing Fran, I would say the other reason you could think he's challenging Rickie personally to go claim the job that he already earned in the spring is, hey, man, I told the world that our top returning receiver had concerns about you. I'm going to say that again. I told the world that our returning receiver left because he had concerns about you. I did not care to keep that a secret like many coaches would. Why do you think I did that? So that the respect can be just as loud as the disrespect. So that you can show that same world that you were good enough to get Trevor Pena to the next level. That he did not need to go to Penn State with Drew Aller just to lose to Oregon and Ohio State again this year.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
My thoughts of Penn State. Listen, if anyone's followed me on Twitter long enough, they know. That's
number two in the AP poll today, by the way, and it was a close vote with Texas. You are an AP voter. Where did you put Penn State? While we're on the subject,
it was not at 1 or 2. I had the Nittany Lions at number 4 behind Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia.
Okay, fair. No, but I think you're right.
I would add that to your point of, hey, I've already been challenging you, right? So
but we're not at the point, like he didn't walk out today and say, I've seen enough. Rickie's the quarterback. He knows he's got to let this thing play out, right? But I think he wants Rickie to win the job. Just a sense that I get.
And here's the key to that also. Why, if your friend, you kind of like have a little bit of a push for you want him to win it, but you're not going to give it to him, is that last clip you played. This is Angeli's first time going through Jeff's offense, right? Like, this is not the Vito and Nunzio and, all the other brothers they have. It's not the Campanelli offense. This is the Jeff Nixon offense. It's his first time through it. And as she said, this is far from Rickie's first time through it. So if Rickie has that advantage, and that was the first guy you targeted to be McCord's successor, and he still loses the gig, you're going to scratch your head a bit. You're going to have some sleepless nights. Like, you're going to be wondering, hey man, did I waste a roster spot on this guy? Did I blow some money? Is he going to be the Jeremy Roach to my barrel of basketball for 2025? So, I see where you're getting at there. I'm not mad at that opinion whatsoever.
It's funny how, I shouldn't say funny, I just have detected the pattern in talking to players and coaches. And I think you've noticed the same thing, but jump in on maybe things that I have not heard. When you ask players and coaches, they're very careful about what they say, but eventually when you pin them down and say, well, what is Rickie versus Steve in terms of skill set, on field? Like, what are you seeing in practice? Off the field, leadership, all those things. We don't see that. Okay, but what do you see on the field? And we do see parts of practice to kind of fall in these buckets as well. But Rickie is clearly described by people as the more talented quarterback in terms of physical skills, bigger arm, mobile, bigger player, physical talents. Angeli seems to fall into that leadership / run the offense type of category, right? So, of course, if you can combine the two, you'd have the great quarterback. And Fran just mentioned in that clip, Javon, how important leadership is going to be. Now, we don't see that leadership away from the field. We've seen both of these guys stay late. Sometimes they're two of the last people off the field, working late with Jonte Cook, working late with Dan Villard. We talked about this on the pod. I think the player is very careful to give both of them kudos on the off-field stuff, away from the field stuff. Fran, the same thing. They're not going to tip their hand on. So you got to try and patch together whatever you can on these things. Now, as for the scrimmage, we were not at the scrimmage. It was closed to the media. I heard bits and pieces from some people, and I believe this from people that were there, that neither one had a true advantage on Saturday. From what I heard, they both threw well. They both had great plays, but neither one of them took command of the job based on one scrimmage, right? So that's why I think Fran said what he said about they both got to take a big step this week. Scrimmage one did not give somebody pole position here. So let's take a big step this week and see who actually grabs it on Saturday.
And technically, Rickie has lost a percentage point of the snaps. It has gone down from 52-48 to 51-49.
This is true. It's like 51-49. I asked Fran that. I said, where are we at percentage-wise? Down to 51-49. So we're getting closer to a decision. That's what that tells me.
But there's also the thing, and what Fran said is, and this is, oh man, I'm just giving my opinions on the whole world of college football tonight. This is my issue with offenses like what Lane Kiffin runs down there in Ole Miss, where it's, I want you to put up a whole bunch of yards for my system, and I don't care if I do nothing to teach you how to be an NFL quarterback. Fran said in that clip you played today, like, now I need these guys to get a strong command of this offense to the point where we can purposefully call in a play in the wrong order, and they'll know exactly what we're talking about and correct it for us in the huddle. I want them to learn Jeff Nixon's pro-style offense, and I want them to have a strong command of the verbiage of that offense and a strong command of the huddle. So that's going to be shockingly, not many people outside of, the gridiron understand this. How strong a quarterback commands his playbook in his huddle goes a long way in a competition. So if I were Ricky Collins Jr. or Steve Angeli, I would be buried very, very deep in my playbook this week. I would be loud, clear, and concise in the huddle and quick. And we're getting up to that line, and we're going to run what was called in to perfect execution.
You could see them too, Javon, purposely doing that. I had a great point this week from Diana Rossini, who's the great NFL reporter, formerly of ESPN. She's now at The Athletic. And she has had NFL coaches tell her, I've had coaches tell me this too. We get much more limited viewing, frankly, than NFL reporters do. I covered the Bills for a couple practices this month, and I was stunned that at some point I was not escorted out of practice. I got to watch the whole thing, 2 hours of practice. Imagine that, right? But where Diana makes a great point here, Javon, is coaches will tell her, and I've had coaches tell me this, like, you don't know what we're working on in that drill, right? You may think you see something, but you don't know what we're working on. And what you just said, and what Fran noted there, like, we call in the wrong play, the quarterback better correct me. Like, they're probably doing that in the scrimmage. Jeff Nixon's miscalling something, and Angeli's looking at him like, no, what are you talking about? Or Ricky's over there like, no, wait. So how do you react to that when the coach makes a mistake on purpose? Like, it's a test on all fronts here. Yeah. So, like I said, the scrimmage didn't tell us much. On the quarterback front, I heard that Fran mentioned him. Luke Carney actually had a great play in that game. I heard he ripped off like a 50-yard touchdown. Now, this was against, the third team, but Luke is one of the faster players on the team. He's up and coming. He's pushing for third team reps. He's got a lot of speed. Somebody keep an eye on. He did throw Rich Beelin in there as well, the freshman.
That's where I was at with it. And, in the spring, it's like Jakari Williams won the backup quarterback job. And then from what we heard from Fran today, like,
he was the fifth guy I mentioned.
Yeah, Rich Beelin and Luke Carney might have jumped him.
Maybe.
Plot twist.
Something to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, December portal candidate, maybe. Who knows?
I'm surprised Jakari stuck around because I think he could play somewhere. He's just he didn't beat anybody out here, but I think he could. Michael Johnson Jr. goes to Akron, a place like that. I think Jakari Williams can play college football somewhere, maybe not at the high P4 level, but I think he can play somewhere. All right. So that's the latest on the quarterbacks, including from the head coach. We got a little preview of what's to come on the depth chart, Javon. You're writing about this, and people can read about it on syracuse.com either tomorrow or Wednesday. I believe that will be out. So Fran did confirm a couple of things depth chart-wise. One is that, unfortunately, Darius Boobie Johnson, freshman wide receiver who was making waves, as Fran noted to us tonight, was running with the twos. Fran saying he was looking like Wes Welker out there, making all kinds of catches. He has a fibula injury. He was at practice today in a boot and needed a scooter to get around. He's out 5 weeks. So he was running with the twos. Davian Kerr, Fran Brown confirmed tonight, his starting nickelback. Fran likes the story of Kerr, who went from scout team up the charts now, as somebody noted, as a starting nickelback. We touched on the depth chart a little bit last week, Javon, and after we watched some true 11-on-11 play and some guys that are settling into positions. So as we work on this, as Fran said, Wednesday, they're actually going to start designating people into ones and twos. Let's get a fresh reminder for people where we think the depth chart stands here on August 11th.
All right. QB1, Ricky Collins Jr. or Steve Angeli. Loser of that gets quarterback 2. Quarterback 3, Rich Beelin or Luke Carney or Jakari Williams. Running back 1, and it'll be this all season most likely, unless your Sin Willis really pulls away. Your Sin Willis or Will Nixon. Running back 3, Jaden Hart or Malachi Coleman, I want to say. No, Malachi James, excuse me.
Malachi James,
yeah. Yep. Or Tyler Chandler. My money is on Hart getting that job. Jaden Hart, he played 8 games last year. And no one in that room outweighs him but Yasin Willis. Yasin is marked at 235 and Hart is at 210. So I would bet that being Willis, Nixon, Hart by season's end, and James being a wide receiver 4 that gets some burn in the punt return unit.
I would agree with that.
Wide receiver, we know Darryl Gill, Jonte Cook. Wide receiver 3 is up for grabs. Hornsby makes plays. Emmanuel Ross makes plays. Justice Ross Simmons and Umari Hatcher, they make plays in their seniors. The thing is, as we talked about, I want to say Thursday, this wide receiver room is deep. It's not enough ball to go around. However, there's a chance for a good number of them to see the field this season because tight end might only have one guy out there catching passes this season. It's very likely that Dan Villari is the only one out there catching passes. And I'm sure they've got no problem taking him out to go 5 wide. So there is a chance that wide receiver 5 sees some bump this season. And
let's not forget Demetrius Samuel's somewhere in that mix too, right? When they want to go gadget play and put him in there, right?
Yeah, they keep giving him some burn in practice. We saw him last week run with the offense and the defense in the same day in one-on-ones. So God bless his legs. He's a 17-year-old true freshman. Whew. Offensive line, I'll be honest with you. I think you're going to agree with me on this. The only sure things are Austin Collins at center, and Demetrius Weatherspoon will be one of the tackles.
I agree with that.
After that, the next 3 have at it, and it's going to be a rotating cast of characters.
We're juggling.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Orange don't start the same offensive line in consecutive weeks at all this season. I wouldn't be shocked. I think they would like to. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't. It's definitely going to be – no one's going to play the full, say, 80 snaps this year. I will say that. It's definitely going to be 60-20 split, and it just depends on who's getting in there. And, I mean, some of these guys have a chance, as Ricky Brumfield pointed out today, to really carve out a role for themselves on the special teams. Go out there and block your butt off on the special teams, and you can really see the field. And be on the field goal protection unit, be on the punt protection unit. Don't let anyone through, and there you go. That's your shot. So, to Nikhil Veteran, Cam Pringle, Zach Rice, TJ Ferguson, Byron Washington, Joe Cruz, Josh Miller, Travion Mack, 8 players fighting for 3 spots. I would say learn how to long snap because you can really help yourself out in that spot, even though that
be a specialist.
Even though that looks like that's going to be Ethan Stengel's spot. But
which I don't want people to admit, this could be a good problem to have in a sense. It's just there's so many new players. There's new players with talent. They're bigger. I think that offensive line is as big as I've ever seen it. And all of them have experience. It's just you're trying to put the right pieces in place.
Yeah,
I would qualify this as a good problem to have. This is not oh crap, what are we going to do here? We got to find 5 guys. No, you said it. There's 8 guys for 3 positions. And yeah, if you want to get on the field, you've just got somebody ahead of you that's better. Why don't you go play special teams or do something and push and compete, right? This is, I think, a good problem to have. This is the problem with the portal is getting people from left to right that are in sync, which is just so hard to do in this day and age of the portal in college football.
And it's also like you want to solve the problem. You got excuses for how to trim this down too, right? So you got, 8 guys competing for 3 spots plus 2 guaranteed starters. That's 10 guys. You can go down to 9 by telling Big Byron Washington, hey, we want to redshirt you. We're going to let you play 4 games, your redshirt, and spend the rest of the season conditioning and dropping some weight like we've asked you to. You're down to 9. I can say Nikhil Veteran is the youngest out of everyone else. So you got an excuse to tell him, wait your turn. TJ Ferguson, I can tell you from standing next to all these guys and being 6'5" myself, TJ Ferguson is the smallest of all of them. So that helps you trim that down. So just like that, I took you down from 10 to 7 with a reasonable excuse for all 3 not to necessarily see the field too frequently. You're still happy with a 7-man rotation. And that doesn't mean that veteran in Ferguson don't get in. They still be on the punt unit, be on the field goal unit, and still rotate as fresh legs, especially in a blowout game.
Well, and this all is an advantage in the sense, Javon, you said that they might not start the same offensive line consecutive weeks. Think about the offensive line you're going to put in when Rickie's the quarterback versus when Steve's the quarterback. Rickie's more of a
because you're going to want some agile guys when Rickie's in there.
When Rickie's in there, you want guys that can, shift, that can run counters, that can actually that can move. You want your more athletic offensive linemen out there, maybe with Angeli. You want your big boys out there that are protecting the quarterback and giving him as much time as possible.
Yeah.
On the defense, we mentioned Kerr has locked down that nickel spot, but with Jaleel Martin injured right now in a green jersey, Fran saying, actually, we didn't ask about Jaleel, did we? We asked about George Rooks and a couple other guys, and we're going to give an injury update here in a second here. But Jaleel seems to be okay. He's got a green jersey on, but he's in the drills that we see, and I think he's by all accounts all right. But there's a competition at his spot, but some other things seem to be falling into place on the defense.
Yeah, so defense did not take as many words or as much time as the offense. The defense seems pretty clear. Devin Grant and Deuce Chestnut are going to be your safeties. Demetrius Samuel Jr. and Chris Peel are going to be your outside corners. Davian Kerr and Jaleel Martin are going to compete for that nickel spot. On the linebackers, Derek McDonald and Gary Bryant III. I can't see it any other way right now. Edge rusher, it's going to be a three-man rotation between David Omo-Periola, Dennis Jaquez Jr., and David Reese. Interior D-line is the spot where there really is competition. I think Tank Wilson's the starter, but next to him, Chris Thomas Jr., George Rooks Jr., 2 transfers competing, and Kevin Jobity, former DN that is now inside, is competing. And I'll tell you what, Tank Wilson loves playing next to Kevin Jobity. I talked to him last week. He said that guy got bigger, and it seems like he got faster in the process. He's like, when they're on the field together, they do damage. Tank Wilson's words, not mine. So
imagine getting bigger and faster.
Yeah, imagine.
I wish that happened to me as I got older, but that's not how that works.
Maybe it's the muscle mass you added to your calves, stronger calves make you run faster. So
I'll have to talk to Jobity about that.
Yeah.
How do you make that work? I mentioned a couple injuries, but let's go through the list quickly for everybody, Javon. We mentioned Boobie Johnson out 5 weeks with a fibula injury. Freshman wide receiver Darian Williams still has a green jersey on, but had his helmet back at practice today. We mentioned Jamie Tremble, who's got those spasms in his lower leg. He continues to be in the green jersey, but Fran Brown telling us tonight that he was, quote, straight. We mentioned Martin and George Rooks, who were off to the side today, and they were kind of running on the grass away from the practice field with a sled behind them with some weights. These guys were not in green, but were not fully participating in practice, at least in the session open to the media. Austin Collins had his left ankle wrapped up and was not in drills when we were at practice. He was off the side doing the ropes, doing the exercise bike, but not in drills. Byron Washington, same thing. Rashard Perry and wide receiver Emmanuel Ross, all players that were not in green jerseys, but maybe getting a little bit of a rest day, maybe a take it easy day after that scrimmage. We saw more green jerseys and more people moving a little slower today after that first scrimmage, Javon, which you would expect, but it was probably a longer list than people anticipate.
I don't know if those guys really were just hitting and being as physical as Fran claims he wants them to be, or if that was just 8 months of you haven't been hit for real in a while. And your body just got to get used to it again. But those guys, they definitely put a beating on each other. I'll tell you that much.
I heard Fran say something in practice I've never heard today, and it's obvious, but he's like, don't touch those skill guys. He was talking about certain players. So I think he knows his team went at it on Saturday. Fran even saying today to one of the equipment guys, hey, grab me a helmet and shoulder pads that fit. And I was hoping to see that, Javon, but we had left practice by the time maybe that got delivered. So if there's a picture out there of Fran Brown back in pads, please send it our way. So we talked about the quarterback competition. There's another big competition going on at camp. And I got to tell you, I walked away a little more concerned about this than I did walking into the evening. We have not seen Trip Woody or Jaden O kick a football in camp. They are kept separate. They're actually on a field surrounded by a fence that's blocked out. We cannot see them, literally cannot see them kicking, right? This is, you want to talk about the quarterbacks. This is the big trade secret of camp. In the spring, though, we saw a little bit of both. Jaden O struggled last year. There's no way to put it. Okay, Syracuse cycled through 3 different kickers. Jaden O made some kicks, but Jaden O didn't exactly lock the job down. From what I saw in spring of Trip Woody, he didn't knock me over. And that's not a Trip pun, by the way. Okay, it's not. I didn't see a kick or see a moment in camp where I'm like, he's the guy, right? Javon, I'm kind of concerned that there is a legit kicker competition going on here, considering, look, there's no other way to put this. In a 10-3 year, there were a lot of things masked by Kyle McCord's record year, great moments by the defense, the wins that they pulled out. Special teams was a mess all year, and it never got better. Think of the UNLV game with all the block kicks in that game. Virginia Tech, they won that game, but there was a blocked extra point and 4 penalties on special teams. Missed kicks, block kicks, penalties, you name it. Special teams was a mess. And if you're telling me there's a legit kicker competition in camp, that concerns me, that you didn't go out and grab a kicker who walked in and got the job. And you got a young guy in Trip Woody who did come from Iowa. They take a lot of great kickers at Iowa. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. And Jaden O, who, again, I watched Jaden O kick 10 times. He's going to make 5 great ones. He's going to miss 5. He's just not somebody that instills a lot of confidence in me that position is locked down. Now, sometimes this happens on a depth chart. You think you got something, you get to camp, you got to let them work out. But because Brumfield has so much to fix, the only thing that is steady on that special teams, Javon, is Jack Stonehouse, who's one of the better punters in the country. They're fine there. But, man, Ricky Brumfield's got a lot of work to do on special teams, a lot of work. We heard from him today, by the way. Here he is on his kick.
Has probably a little bit of a stronger leg, but right now it's kind of what and what, you know what I mean? And they're just kind of going at it. And one of them will do good one day and the other one will do good the next day. And they kind of we're just trying to focus on a little more consistency from both of them. But they're doing a great job, and I don't think we can go wrong with either one of them right now. But they're kind of what and what right now.
I don't know. I don't like what I'm hearing there. It's one thing when you describe the quarterbacks that way. It's quite another when the kickers are described that way.
So Jaden O had himself a pretty good spring game, at least compared to Jaden O standards, from what I've been told.
Fair. He did. And he earned a scholarship in the offseason for what it's worth.
So Ricky Brumfield, he said something today that makes me think maybe this isn't a true competition between him and Trip Woody. It's like a lot of kicking, and I'll tell you, who watching Justin Tucker the last 2 years, I can attest to this. A lot of kicking is a mental thing. Matter of fact, before Justin Tucker, Billy Cundiff, dude was the best kicker in the NFL for a while. Missed that chip shot against New England in the 2011 AFC Championship. Oh, I'm trying not to cry. That was pain. And he was no more good after that. Literally no more good. And he was still a young guy. It's a big mental thing. He said he wants to get Jaden O there mentally. Maybe it's just testing what he's made of. Hey, I'm going to keep saying he's in the like he's my guy, but I'm going to keep saying this is a competition to see how he handles it and see if it affects him and how much the pressure weighs on him. Because a lot of your job as a kicker is handling pressure. You know, 3 seconds left on the clock. You've been iced, 55-yarder for the game. You've got parlays at stake. If you lose, you don't even want to check your social media inbox. You feel like crap because you think you lost your team the game. It's probably the loss that keeps your team out of the conference championship. Kicker is a very, very stressful position. So you've got to put as much stress on them in the offseason to prepare them for the season as possible. You got to see who handles that stress the most. I wouldn't be shocked if that's the ploy that Ricky Brumfield is using on Jaden O right here.
And I'd love to agree or disagree with what Ricky is saying and what you're saying in a way, Javon. But again, we literally haven't seen these guys take a kick yet in camp. So hopefully at some point they'll let them out and make a decision on this. But Ricky's saying they're putting a new scheme in there. I asked what that scheme is. Ricky had a little fun with that answer. We're going to line up and try and make kicks. And He didn't exactly say like, with like, are you running a 4-3 defense or you're running a motion offense? Like, what's a scheme on special teams? Ricky didn't want to get into that, but rest assured, he's the one probably getting the least amount of sleep in camp. And he talked about his philosophy, which is Fran's philosophy of as many starters as possible on special teams. That's all well and good. But they did that last year and it was a disaster. So that's a big concern coming into this year as well. How you straighten out the kicker situation, cut back on the penalties, cut back on the block kicks, and just get more consistency all around on special teams. I don't have the clip here, but Fran said it tonight, Javon, like we can't lose games because of special teams. And they flirted with danger in losing games because of special teams a year ago. They didn't lose to Pitt, Stanford, or BC because of special teams, but man, they came close to losing specific games because of special teams, UNLV notably. So something to keep an eye on for sure. And hopefully we'll get to see the kickers at some point here during camp. All right, Javon, our Syracuse Sports Insiders, as always, bringing some great questions to the table. And being a Syracuse Sports Insider, as we said, guys, gives you direct text message access to me. Just want to shoot the breeze, talk SU sports. Let's do that. You got questions for Fran Brown and the Syracuse football players during camp? We can do that for you, right? Being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you direct text message access to me anytime with your thoughts on all matters of Syracuse sports. And the people have questions, Javon. John B. says, is this team going to be in even better shape after a full year in Fran's program? Is this alone going to be a difference maker? And what he means by that is literal shape, physical shape, right? The training staff, what they do in the offseason. Is this team going to be in better shape? Boy, I'll tell you what. I've noticed a huge difference in that in the last 2 years. We've gotten a look at the social media videos. They're working out at all hours of the day. They're noticeably bigger. They're noticeably stronger. They're noticeably faster. I think they've got a better training program in place. So I'll answer that question with this, Javon, and in your question, John. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. This team just continues to raise the level on that, especially with that new Lally facility that they have. They've got all the tools at their disposal, so that will not be an issue.
Yeah, John B., if you're watching and you saw my facial expression, I was not offended by your question or anything. There's just a R&B singer with the same name. I'm like, John B. watches the podcast. Who knows? One of the best blue-eyed soul singers to ever grace this earth.
I'm learning a lot here. This is great.
Yeah. But no. I mean, Elijah Robinson talked about this last week. Like, got here, and some guys just were not as big as the staff wanted them to be for their positions. Like, you've just got a vision of how big you want your guys to be. Elijah Robinson knows big time football and how big you have to be. He's coming over from Texas A&M. Fran Brown's coming over from Georgia. These guys have been around. They know what size is, and they made an emphasis this offseason to get these guys to that size. Kevin Jobity moved inside because they thought he's better suited inside, but they couldn't do it last year because he wasn't big enough. So, yeah, they will be in better shape. Absolutely.
John, just go look at a picture of Antoine Delorier, and that'll answer your question.
Brent. You guys have been talking about the kid, and he was in that green jersey in the spring, so I didn't pay much attention to him. I saw him up close in person today. That dude is built like John Cena. He is stacked up.
I'm not a huge wrestling guy, but when I look at him, I think of Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Ripped. Absolutely ripped. Timmy C has this question. Actually, let me go to this question, Timmy, and then we'll backtrack to yours because this is a camp question somewhat similar to John's. James W. says, Brent, it's your second year attending fall camp under Fran Brown. Besides not hearing Smooth by Rob Thomas and Santana to start every practice, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen? Javon, you dodged this. So Dino Babers, every practice would start practice. That was his pick. The rest of the music, the players got the pick. But he liked Smooth by Rob Thomas and Santana. Fine song. When you hear it every day of camp, it kind of drives you crazy. All right? So other than that, James, look, there's more people at camp. There's more people welcome at camp. Fran mentioned that again, even tonight, that if you played at Syracuse, you are welcome to come to camp. And we've seen guys from the level of Dwight Freeney, Keith Bullock to Dave Jacobs and a number of former players that just feel welcome. Camp is faster. Camp is noticeably louder with Fran Brown on the wireless mic, the way the coaches move things. Camp is noticeably faster. It's more physical. It's just everything. And that's a testament to the bigger, stronger, faster players in camp. It's a testament to the energy that Fran Brown brings to the table. Frankly, there's a lot more swearing in camp because Fran Brown lets it fly. The coaches like to let it fly. No filters out there. Dino Babers' staff didn't really swear that much. It was rare to hear it on the field, frankly. Not this staff. These guys are free-flowing out there. You hear some things that would make you hear some things out there.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
It's an R-rated movie at times.
Yeah, you're not coaching if you're not dropping F-bombs. I've never played for a coach that didn't just absolutely dog talk you. I'll be honest. I think the nicer they are to you, the more harm they're doing to you. So you chew the guys out. Swear up a storm.
Exactly. We're all adults here. We all know how it goes at football practice. But ultimately, I think these practices make this a better team. I think the way Fran Brown structures practices makes this a better team. From Timmy C, who's got this question, how does Luke Carney look? We were just talking about him and Rich Beelan, maybe lapping Jakari Williams at that third spot. Says, I know the battle is between Angeli and Collins, but has Carney done well in camp? It would be nice to have a quarterback for the future on the roster already. Javon, I like what I've seen from Luke Carney in arm strength. We talked about his speed. I think he's got a little bit of a hitch in his delivery. He's trying to work out. I know he worked with some coaches in the offseason, went to a throwing school. He's trying to get it more on level right now. But I've heard nothing but good things. And from what I've seen personally, I've seen a lot of great things from Luke Carney. He's pushing for that third spot right now. I think it's a lot to put on his shoulders as a freshman. But remember, he was in spring camp. But his play is the best thing you can grade him on. And from everything I've heard and seen, he's really pushing at this point. He is a freshman on the right trajectory at this point. That's how I would label it.
Yeah, best case scenario is he's the homegrown guy after Rickie.
Freddie S. says this, and he wants to talk about the quarterbacks too. He feels the quarterback spot is going to be a work in progress this year, and we will see a big drop-off in the offense, but hopes that the defense has improved significantly. Javon, this defense last year was opportunistic, okay? They were bend but don't break. They had a lot of very timely plays. Fidel Diggs against Georgia Tech, huge fourth down when Georgia Tech's making a comeback. Fidel Diggs against Cal, 10 minutes to go, huge third down stop. They didn't have a lot of defensive touchdowns last year, but Devin Grant, huge scoop and score against Miami that gave him a 35-28 lead. I'm forgetting one or two here, but this was a defense. We've heard it from the coaches. I wrote a story about this. You guys can check it out on syracuse.com, and I know Chris Carlson has a similar story coming out about the emphasis on tackling, Javon. We've heard this from players and coaches left and right in camp, the 4th and 1 and 4th and 9 shirts that we've seen, reminding them of those two huge plays that cost them games against Stanford and Boston College, right? So this defense has to be better overall and consistently, per Fred's comment, because I don't know if you can count on those opportunistic plays that they got last year from a lot of guys, frankly, that are in NFL camps right now.
Yeah, they went around to some NFL teams, some college programs for tips on tackling. I got to be honest with you, Brent. I grew up on AFC North football, so just hearing that, it was just like, huh? It was that bad? I'm just not used to poor tackling, me personally. So hearing that, like, and I'll be honest with you, when you got a bad tackling team, to me, that starts with the linebackers. I don't know many a linebacker coach that has held on to their job after 2 seasons of poor tackling. So pressure's on Robert Wright. I would say that. It's football. That's one of the first 2 things you know about football. You know to tackle the guy, and you know to run into the end zone. That's inexcusable. Simple and plain. We see them working on it. They do a lot of pursuit drills and chasing the inside hip and leverage, low man wins. They were preaching today. If you're going to miss a tackle, miss it with leverage. Trust your teammate. and forced to cut back, and somebody else will bail you out. So they are teaching the right principles, but they're not really hitting in the portions we get to see. We won't know how good it has gotten or how much it has improved until Tennessee. But yeah, me and bad tackling just don't get along. Those are two words I never want to put next to each other.
That was their biggest problem last year by far, and that was a consistent issue from start to finish all season last year. I'll tell you what, and I know it's camp, and he's got to make that level up. But Fran Brown was even asked tonight, "Why'd you go get Gary Bryant?" I think you were asking about that. And he's like, "Because he had 106 tackles last year."
That was one of the Newhouse kids. Yeah.
Gary Bryant. I didn't get it on video, unfortunately. I did send our insiders a video of some linebacker drills today, but there was one drill, Javon. I don't know if you saw it. That poor sled that Gary Bryant just blew up. I can't believe the screws remained intact on that play. He hits. He makes impact. All fall. His technique. There are just guys that pop. There are guys you watch a few times and you know they're better. You know they're different. His technique is, I don't want to say flawless. That would be strong, but it's solid. So if tackling was your issue, you had a guy that racked up 106 tackles last year, mind you, at South Dakota. But Gary Bryant is just a fundamentally sound physical linebacker that they needed in that room. It's not only to replace guys that left, namely Marlowe Wax, but they just need in that room. And I've been really, really impressed with him, and we'll continue to see that as we go through camp. What do you say we end? One more thought, and then we'll end on that note, Javon.
Yeah, that guy's got speed, intensity, and technique. You can tell he grew up watching Ray Lewis. You lose one Baltimorean in Marlowe Wax, and you bring in a guy from Anne Arundel County and Gary Bryant. So I'm sure the folks back home are happy to see that up in Syracuse.
Marlowe Wax, who had 9 tackles for the Chargers the other night. Fidel Diggs, 4 tackles and a sack in that Chargers-Saints game.
Jackson Meeks. Woo.
Jackson Meeks is popping in Detroit. Elijah Clark had 5 tackles before he got taken to the locker room for the Cowboys. I think he's okay, but precautionary there. Sean Tucker popping in his second year in Tampa Bay. A lot of SU guys making some noise out there. So
good preseason so far for the Orange. Yeah,
it has been. It really has been. So we'll see how those guys keep that up and can make some 53-man rosters as the season goes along here. I think that's where we're going to end for tonight, though, Javon. Thanks as always, my friend. Great work from you. Look for Javon's stuff on syracuse.com as always, guys. Thanks to you for hanging out here on the pod. Please subscribe, follow on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. So when you miss the live pods here, you can watch and listen on demand when you want. Looking forward to hearing from you on the Syracuse Sports Insider text line as well. Javon and I, or Chris and I, will be back later this week with another Syracuse Sports live edition, giving you all the highlights from Syracuse football training camp. But that's going to do it for this edition of Syracuse Sports. For Javon Edmonds, I'm Brent Dax. We will talk to you next time, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you soon.